As we close in on the start of the real-world action of the Stars Championship Series, it is time to bring to a close the virtual championship. Welcome to Takeoff from Sebring, and you'll see it all live here on Grid Vision. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris for today's race. Should be plenty of exciting action here, Taylor, for this fantastic circuit that is honestly a perfect fit for these GT3 and GT4 cars.
Absolutely, Joe, and good evening, everyone, as we bring to a close another great season of action here for the Stars Championship Esports Series, as drivers are getting ready to do battle for what's going to be an exciting multi-class event. Earlier in the season, we raced at Daytona, utilizing, of course, the brand new GTP cars and the GT3s, but now we're just going to dip it down just a little bit with some high braking speed with the GT3 cars, and of course, some of the fan favorites, the GT4 machinery tonight.
Yeah, those have picked up in popularity tremendously, both in the real world and here in the sim. And of course, none of this can happen without our sponsors for this series, such as Track Systems, Northern Karting Alliance, MG Tires Racing, Lucas Oil School of Racing, VRS, Perfect Printing, Overwatch Virtual Oversight Solutions, Kart Class, and Rude Image. So a huge shout out to them for helping put this on the air for today's event. Looks like qualifying is just starting right now, so drivers getting out on track. I did notice that the weather looks to be pretty good air temperature, but the track itself, Taylor, 113 Fahrenheit. They're going to not have many problems, I guess, getting the tires up to temperature.
Yeah, and the thing is, I talked to the race officials. They made sure that no rain would come in harm's way of this event here tonight. They're wanting to have a nice, clean event for the most part, as you can see the weather is going to be hot here in the South Florida area. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers are going to be able to manage the tires, manage the traffic, and just put on a good show for us here tonight.
So as we watch one of our Lamborghinis head around, this is, I believe, our car of, well, I thought it was Morgan Bernhardt. Looks like this might be Simone de Mori. Nope, this is Austin Fairfield, actually, excuse me, on his way around in the 04 down through Jean Debienne and into Le Mans. This is the warm-up lap, so this one won't matter as much, but coming out of Sunset Bend, that's where it's going to be critical that he gets a good flyer. It's almost 2 minutes around here for a lap, Taylor. So in 15 minutes, they're not going to have too many times to circulate.
No, they're really not, and it's going to be critical to make sure that they set the pace early on. And not a whole lot of time really in qualifying. Like you said, maybe they can get 2 good laps, but they have to make sure they don't miss a step whatsoever throughout the entirety of this event. Start his first flying lap around the circuit, along with a couple of other drivers, such as the number 3 of Brent Stern in the Aston Martin GT4, one of the first GT4 cars out onto the track.
Yep, so he's going to swing it down through turn 5, and this is into Big Bend here, another place where you definitely want that exit speed, because one of the most popular places to overtake is here into the safety pin, down into turn 7, and you can see him drifted off to the driver's left before he slams on the binders. Looks a little wide initially at that apex. That's not going to help him out. Hopefully he can get that tidied up if he has another lap around. Still waiting for the first times to get set up. And this is where things tighten up, and drivers will have to watch out for some of the traffic over this hour-long race. We'll see those GT3 cars definitely catch up once or twice and have to overtake those GT4 machines through that section. Wesley Gundler, in the meantime, also working his way around.
Utilizing, of course, one of the Porsches in this event. Tries to work his way out over towards the turning bend and head over towards the hairpin here. And, of course, we're going to see a lot of great passing opportunities through this section of the circuit, Joe. And I have to say, this is going to be also one of the danger zones that we'll be talking about in the next 60 minutes when we get started with the race.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've seen so many drivers blow that hairpin time and time again, where they just maybe overestimate what the brakes can do. at this track, especially with the bumps and all the different surface changes as well that you've got over the course of the lap. I was kind of amused that that Porsche had an Italian-looking livery on it. Ovcharov, in the meantime, in the number 7. Let's see what his first lap is going to be like. Leo brings it out of the final corner into the timing line. Looks like we got a few others now finally starting to set one, and a 2:10.9 is going to be good enough to at least get Leo up there. Brett Stern does not go quicker than him. In fact, 3 seconds difference between our two GT4s that have now set a lap. Demori, in the meantime, is quickest by nearly a second over Newell.
Yeah, this is one of the favorites here in this esports series is Simon Demori, who has had a lot of good pace in the Formula car that he raced last month at the Charlotte Motor Speedway on the Roval in the Formula 3 cars. He put on a stellar drive, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do in the GT3 machine. But there's one driver, though, that we got to keep an eye on. That's the number 14 machine. He's on pit road right now. He just completed his first time lap with Eli Warren. He is your podium finisher in the KA Stars Championship in 2023, so he's going to be definitely one to watch here as we pick up James Newell in the Stars and DRS Championship Porsche as he works his way through the back half of the course.
Breaking hard down into Cunningham. I'm showing him tracking pretty close to his best time on that first lap around, so he's going to need to pick it up for the latter part of the lap to be able to improve his position, and by a good margin. Like I said, it's almost a second up to that number 24 machine. Not looking good at this stage. Maybe he's got something hidden a little farther down. Leo Ovcharov still your pole sitter provisionally in the GT4s with Ben Fuller. Oh, if I'm saying that correctly, that's almost 2 seconds difference between them. So an even more massive gap in the GT4s. Carter McMurray looks like he finally set one. And that is going to put him into 8th position, about 2.2 seconds off the pole.
Carter McMurray, of course, son of NASCAR and Daytona 500 champion Jamie McMurray, racing in the pro category. Always runs a lot in the KA categories. Put on a stellar drive in 2023, looking to continue his progression in the karting range. In the championship, hopefully in 2024 in both the Stars Championship Series, and probably see him also compete a little bit in the USPKS Series this week at Houston.
Watching to see who's going to be improving here. Wyatt Smith looks to be almost half a second up on his best lap, and he is currently P2 in that GT4 class, so that's not going to be enough, although it's up to 8 tenths briefly there. He's 9 tenths behind Leo now, so he's cut it much closer than what we saw before. Let's see what this Mercedes has in the final section. This is a car that's known for being very compliant over curbs and bumps, which will serve him well at this circuit.
It always seems to be a driver choice with these GT4 cars, especially with that Mercedes, and I've seen a lot in the official races and special events that this is one of the go-to cars that is utilized in these events. You see it right there, how well it manages over the bumps and over the curbing here around Sebring.
Definitely clobbered that curb down into Jean Debienne, and he's still tracking at about 8 tenths. It's going to be tight on whether or not he overtakes Leo for that top position here. Granted, you can make passes at Sebring, but you always want that track position if possible to put yourself in the best spot you can for the race itself. As he comes out of the final turn, still showing about 8 or 9 tenths. Let's see if the number 9 can steal this one away. He weaves across the track. That'll take some time, and it's a 2:11.242. That's not going to do it. He's about 3 tenths off.
Oh, tough break right there for Wyatt Smith, and we'll pick up another driver out there on the track who decides to then take it behind the wheel. That was Forrest Adams. Yes, it shows Michael Adams on timing this morning. That is his son, Forrest Adams, driving that number 56 Porsche. As we pick up Kevin Garcia in the 505 machine in the GT4 category. Got a lot of work to do. P6, P7 out of the GT4 machine.
Yeah, I think he's about 4 seconds or thereabouts off the pole time in the GT4s right now. This is, like I said, a pretty long lap, so nothing to be ashamed of for that gap, especially since there is still time to try and set a couple more here as he exits onto the Ullman Straight. And boy, you head down this thing for a long time. This used to be an air base, of course, so some of these parts, such as this section, still utilizes runways, and it just seems to go on forever. Garcia coming out of the final turn, seeing if he can improve on that 2:14.644. Here comes the timing line past Barney. Does it count? No, looks like that lap did not count for Kevin, so he's going to have to go around another time.
We do have a new pole sitter, though. That is, of course, the Canadian Savio Panzania, who is able to set it on pole with a 2:10.76, and he's not done. He's going to go for more to give him a little bit of more cushion here in this event.
I also said that Joseph Janowski just crossed the line and jumped up to 5th in the GT3, so nice job from him as we watch Panicia down into Cunningham. This is Beasley briefly. Now we're checking back Savio once more, trying to finish up a second lap. If he can extend it over Leo Ovcharov, just 0.164 of a second between them. That's not a lot around here, although Leo doesn't look like he's out on track right now.
No, there's only, really looking through the field, only Savio out on the track. Mason Walters just took him behind the wall to end his attempt of a qualifying run, and there's still at least one more GT4 car, that's Zaladine, and then you have at least 2 more GT3 manufactured cars that need to go out on the track as well, with Krishna and Beckham Jasir, who have yet to set time in qualifying.
I'm a bit surprised that we're not seeing anybody else try to capitalize on these last few moments. We still have 3 minutes left. Even if you head out now, you should have... Oh, excuse me. I just realized it's only 2 laps for the qualifying. Apologize for that. So that's why we don't see any drivers out there. Savio on his second time by 2:10.748, improves by a little less than 0.02 of a second. Won't change that much. He's already our pole sitter, but it's looking good for that number 13 when we get to go racing. That should be everybody. So our grid is set for the race. I believe we also have a schedule that has been released for 2024 for these karters here, Taylor.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, it kicks off in the end of this month of April 26th through the 28th. We get set for the Queen City Gambit at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So right there in the heart of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, in the heart of NASCAR country, where we will see these karters do battle here once again. It's going to be an exciting season, and it goes across 4 different tracks and unique tracks, and possibly probably some of the best racing tracks in karting here in the United States, as we touched on, of course, starting at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but of course, moving on further throughout the 2024 season. We have a lot of great other events. Of course, we have the season finale wrapping up once again at the GoPro, or Trackhouse Motorplex, I should say, not GoPro anymore, Trackhouse Motorplex. And then, of course, over at the Cincinnati Country Club, as well as also the famed and hallowed grounds of Newcastle Motorsports Park up there in Indianapolis.
Some great stuff, and it's interesting that they're in Cincinnati there, so definitely ticking off both of the boxes. But just need to wait for this clock to tick down to 0, and then we can get gridded up for our last race of the season. Looking forward to seeing how these drivers fare. Expect at least 1 pit stop, since they have limited fuel with the fixed setup that they put onto these vehicles. Everybody's going to have to be in for that at least once. They can take tires at the same time. We'll see if drivers elect to do that. Considering the high temperatures, I have to imagine, as long as it doesn't cost you too much more, Taylor, we're going to see drivers put some fresh ones on.
Yeah, that's going to be the key right there. I mean, with how hot the weather is, it's going to heat up those tires very quickly and burn them off very quickly as well. not enough to really cool them down at any point whatsoever during this race. So drivers are going to have to be careful, plan out their strategies for this entire 60-minute sprint race.
And not just plan out those strategies, they need to pay attention to a number of factors. And for us, the keys of the race on this one are probably going to be, of course, it's Sebring. It's the bumps. You got to watch out for them. You need to make sure that you have a good planted car and you've got the right line through some of these corners. The other one for me is working with traffic. Have to make sure that, as I said, through some of the more complicated portions of the circuit, when you're being overtaken or you are overtaking the other class, that you have to try and play nice and do the risk versus reward, as that is always the case in racing, to figure out what is worth it in the time and the moment to try and make sure that everything is going to wind up making it to the checkered flag. Looks like everybody is now gridded up and ready to go. Why don't we go through our starting grid for today's race? Simon Demori is going to be on the pole position in the GT3s with Morgan Burghardt starting in second spot. Vaughn Beasley going to be in P3 with James Newell on the outside of that second row. Eli Warren, who seems to be a bit of a favorite in this series, will start from fifth as Joseph Janowski will be in sixth position. Then you've got Austin Fairfield in P7 with Wesley Gundler in the eighth position. After that, row 5 has John Antonino on the inside and Carter McMurray on the outside of row 5. Mason D. Walters will start from 11th, and the last one to set a time in the GT3s is Jackson Gardner. Beckham Jasir, Christian Gomez, and Krishna Thirumalai will round out your GT3 field. What do they look like for the GT4s, Taylor?
Well, on the pole for the GT4 will be Samuel Pantanillo with Leo Akhtara right there starting in second place. In third in class will be Wyatt Smith with Forrest Adams right there in the fourth position. In fifth and sixth we'll see Benjamin Fuller and Michael Adams. And as they work their way further to the field, rounding out the GT4 category, it'll be Brett Starr and Kevin Garcia in the 8 GT4 while in Zalagini will round up the 9 GT4 category as the rest of the field who did not take time to start a little bit back, but still some exciting racing action that we will have here tonight with the GT categories racing at Sebring, Joe. And kind of fun to have you back working with me here in the GT series. I mean, it's been a long time since me and you got to work together, and of course, our first broadcast was GT cars.
Certainly have done a lot of those over the years, especially these GT3s and GT4s. So not too shocked that we return to them once again as the Porsche pace car going to emerge from the Ullman Straight and head down into Sunset Bend. That's going to release Demori once that pace car drops into pit lane. Can Simon manage to keep that lead down into turn 1? And will we be able to make it through that first corner cleanly? There goes the pace car, and Simon is immediately on it. Green flag is out down into turn 1. Beasley is going to have the inside away from Burkhardt despite starting from third here. Can he complete the pass? They're almost going to make contact into turn 1, but they're going to be clean on the other side.
Everyone tries to make it through very well as they work their way into the journey. Everyone just trying to, one car goes off, that is the Ferrari. It goes a little bit too wide, comes to the track. That was the Jackson Gardner, who had a little bit of problems when they hit over the drain.
Meanwhile, behind them, looks like Panicia is currently leading in the GT4s, but being very closely followed by Wyatt Smith. He could try something down into the hairpin, and he's taken a big look at it, but is not able to get the overlap. He backs out of it. Yep, just ahead. You can see that good battle up there between P1 and P2 in class. A little off the apex for both of them. Breaking deep, not wanting to give the other an opportunity to sneak one up the inside. Then it's into the tricky breaking of Tower Corner, where they need a great exit to send them through Bishop up to Jean de Bienne. It's still looking quite tight between Smith and Penicia.
It really is. They are staying right on the foot and work their way over towards Jean de Bienne. And also, these Mercedes are going on a stellar drive. Now, for those of you who are wondering how, of course, the GT category is based off of, the GT3 cars are based off of the KA senior category or our road category that we have, which is, of course, the KA seniors or KA stars or the OKN seniors. Now, while the Pro-Am categories are utilizing usually the KA juniors, our cadet classes, as well as the OKN junior categories here. So that's just a little bit of a way to tell the difference as far as what is driving what cars in tonight's event.
They switch across the track to complete lap one. It is going to be Penicia leading Smith, with Adams still in third. Stretching away from the rest of the field, Brett Stern is almost already 3 seconds behind the podium, and already with Ovcharov behind him. Leo not really... Oh, man. So Adams making a critical mistake. That is going to bump him down to fifth. Looks like he'll get it going. And we'll come back to that battle between Brett and Leo. So now this is for a podium position, as Leo continues to try and make up for his losses at the start of the race. Not sure why he lost so many positions, though.
Must have just had a bad start to kick off this race. That's the only thing I can think of what might have cost him the chance to drop back. He was definitely one place to watch, especially with that Delta Sport team, which has been a strong team for the entire championship this season.
All right, so they break down into Cunningham for another time. Looks like P1, P2, P3, P4, both kind of setting up into duos and fighting hard for these top positions, but it's still very early in this race. We're expecting 29 laps from what it says there, but it is a timed race. It is 60 minutes. We're only about 4 minutes into this one. That was a great run off the corner by Leo. What's going to happen here coming up into Jean de Bienne? It's tough to try and pass into that. Brett knows it. He covers him off.
It's a great job of holding him off here through Jean de Bienne as we watch Brett Surges placing his car in the right places. You see a little bit of front nose damage to the grill of that Mercedes, though, as we are going down towards the Ullman Straight over towards Sunset. See if we can get a better angle at that possibly. Up just now, punched it. You see it right there as he went by.
Exactly, and you don't want damage at this track for those long straights. You need that straight line speed for sure. And as they come off of the final turn, once again, looks like corner exit is kind of Leo's strength here. He gains quite a bit on Brett. Not enough, though, at this point, and he's going to have to sit behind him down into turn one once again. Jumping forward now, taking a look at the fight between Wesley Gundler and Joseph Janowski. Wesley doing a great job, up 3 positions from where he started.
Holding off the series owner of Joseph Janowski. He's got a little bit of sports car racing pedigree. But still knows how to get around with the GT3 cars. Stellar drive as he's trying to keep up with some of the young guns in the Stars Championship Series. Carter McMurray not too far behind.
Coming up into the sweeper double apexer of Bishop. Just can't seem to get close enough there. The number 16 in the black there behind. And watch out for Carter McMurray. If they start battling, he's going to be upon them quite quickly. Looks like, I think Gundler got himself a good enough run down the Ullman Straight. Doesn't seem to be under threat up into the final turn, I should say. And as they fly into there, let's not forget, eventually we're going to see drivers start to catch some of the lapped cars. I think they got a few more laps before that happens. Kevin Garcia currently the last amongst them in the 505 and the GT4s. They head towards the safety pin. He's kind of sizing him up. No big defense from Vaughn Beasley. He stays put around the outside. Doesn't feel like there's going to be any move, and indeed there is not from Morgan. Now it's a matter of who can race their way up to Cunningham first here. And again, that red, white, and blue number 18 seems to be managing the Lamborghini quite well. Doesn't get to where he can try and make an attack, although the car looks strong through those medium speed corners.
Last time by, he was about a tenth faster than he's got the pace. It's just a matter of trying to find that opening. In fact, he's the fastest lap of the race so far by about a tenth over your race leader right now.
Oh, we might want to go to the GT4 leaders because Smith is making a move down the inside of the hairpin, and Panicia does not fight it. He lets him go. Wyatt Smith, now your new leader in this race.
Replay of that pass.
So this is coming down into the braking zone. Just again, another great run from Wyatt. He pokes his nose. Didn't see the other Merc try and defend on him, just allows him through. So the 13 will cycle back into second, and job done. Also, oh, sorry, I just saw that Beasley's might have a pass set up on Burkhart as well. So lots of action now kicking off here in the fifth lap of the race. Can't get by, but he took a big look into turn one. Looks like he's lost a little bit too much this time. So the Lambo gonna have to, actually I think he made his way past him because he was the one chasing him. So great job by Morgan. That's gonna move him into P2. So I guess it was more of an attack back from Vaughn Beasley to try and get that position. There is the replay. Great find there, Taylor. And coming down into the Sunset Bend, just some side-by-side. Great defense, great action, and gave each other enough space to make it work. The Lamborghini goes the long way around.
It's really hard to make that pass work. And of course, we go back live. We saw him trying to make the pass work again in turn one. You now see Burkhart starting to pull away from that one. It's so difficult to get that outside coming through Sunset and making it pass. So big kudos to Morgan Burkhart to make that pass out of the Sunset and able to still hold on, but can Beasley do it here? He's a little bit too far back to really set up for him.
Well, Morgan seems to have the legs right now, and the number 2 is about 2.5 seconds off of Demori. Kind of curious if that Lambo can catch the fellow Italian car up ahead and maybe make a challenge for the lead. This should be a relatively comparable lap since there wasn't much side-by-side racing last time. Demori with a 2 flat 5, Burkhart with a 2 flat 9. So that was not quicker that time by. Let's watch and keep an eye on those lap times, see what happens from here.
Further back and keep an eye as Carter was closing in, but lose some pace on the battles. Wesley Governor and Joseph Janowski, who are still in a spirited battle for the fifth spot here in the Porsches. Our GT4 drivers
Yeah, right now I'm not seeing many battles down to those GT4s either. They've spread out as well. The lead's still relatively close on that one. So could see some action in the near future there. But flying down towards Cunningham, Janowski getting a little uncomfortably close to Gundler. Doesn't try and make a move this time at the least, but as they work their way through Collier, let's see if Wesley can maybe get himself a bit more distance between he and that number 16. Oh, he's a bit wide coming off tower. Joseph knows it. He's on top of him now.
He's going to try to set the pace up here and see if he can get a pass on the outside, which would then be the inside lane into Jones to the end. Thinks better of staying tucked up behind Butler, though. Not going to push the issue. Joe is something a little bit of that balance driver. Those who are going to be patient when it's time to be patient, but when it's time to attack and get aggressive, he will make the run. Here he goes. He'll go around the outside and see if he can pull a Burkhardt move over through Sunset.
It worked for another driver. Can it work for Joseph? Oh, he brakes extremely early. Maybe it's going to be an undercut. Yeah, he tries to get his nose in, but thinks better of it. That was probably wise because Gundler and he were about to make contact, but Gundler contacts the wall instead.
Possibly of Joseph Janowski. He will send it into the inside into turn number 1. Janowski gives him plenty of room, gives him space, and Carter McMurray will move up a spot into 6th position.
We talked about the patience game. I'd say Carter's got it there. Just waited for them to fight. As soon as they did, he was ready to grab the pieces that were left over and is up to P6. Now can he catch up to Wesley ahead of him, or is he going to have to play defense on Janowski's Porsche?
They're going to have to be a little bit careful. Janowski's going to stay tucked up behind Carter McMurray for the time being, not push the envelope. He's got plenty of room before he has to worry about another big-time competitor in the Stars Championship Series. He finished in the top 3 in his class. John Antino, he's sitting right now, and his number 10 does he's at the very end of your screen right there.
Yeah, the gaps have definitely widened between some of the cars pretty significantly here. Not between P1 and P2 in that GT4 class. Pinicia is still within 0.3 of a second, kicking up the dust off of turn 1's exit. Clearly, both of them are pushing.
They really are. They are really trying to set the pace here, and the question is going to be who's the rabbit in this one, because they are absolutely dropping fast lap after fast lap. In fact, last time by, Savio set his personal best on the pace, and he was about a tenth faster than Wyatt Smith as they work their way through. But keep an eye on Octorov. He's a little bit further back. He's a little bit about second and a half, 5 seconds between those top 3. So, but he is in that position where if these two make a mistake, they're going to capitalize on it.
Bad news for fans of Janowski. He has wrecked the car in Jean Debian and has taken a tow. Didn't look like it was that hard of a hit, and it was on the front, which isn't as important on the Porsche compared to other cars. There's the replay, and there's the thunk into the concrete.
Tough break right there for Joe Janowski. Unfortunately, take that tow as we go back to our GT4 leaders.
Still nose to tail. Don't need to go to it, but I think Gundler has managed to get by, McMurray has managed to get by Gundler, I should say. So they've switched positions, and Carter now trying to run away from him. There may have been a little contact, though, I'm hearing, between them. As we watch this battle for the lead, up at the front in the number 9 and the number 13, now about 5.5 seconds ahead of the nearest other driver, Leo Ovcharov, who lost out at the start of this race. They've been trying to make good on the distance they put on him, but if they start squabbling, they could lose that gap.
Absolutely, and this is going to be critical to see how this will play out for our competitors here as we keep an eye on this battle, working their way through. Apologies on the technical issues with the sound. Hopefully that sounds a little bit better for you guys. Trying to fix that here momentarily, but still going to keep an eye on this battle for the GT4 category as they work their way through. And here comes some of your GT3. That is one of the further lap cars in the GT3. I believe that's Newell in the 23 machine, not too far behind.
Yeah, so he's actually trying to unlap himself from the GT4. Something happened to him early on, and he is well down the order, which means he does not want to hurt this fight. Not only is this not his battle because it's out of class, but he's actually even laps down from these cars on top of things. He's going to sit behind quietly. Now he's going to have a little bit more straight line speed coming down through the Fangio chicane. He's going to be able to get one easily. It looks like he should be able to get both of them as Smith stays off to the driver's left.
Really good race here for this battle in the GT4 category, as we will keep an eye on this one. We'll see if there's anyone else really making a move up in the field. So far, though, I don't see anyone. It's going to be a little bit quiet for the most part amongst your competitors as they are just trying to log laps, get into that little bit of a rhythm to set the pace, and so far it's everyone just minding their P's and Q's and racing the track.
Let's stay here because this is definitely the closer fight, but I was looking at the 24 leader in the GT3s. He was about a tenth slower the last two laps than Morgan Burkhardt. So Morgan is gaining on the GT3 leader, and that could be a real battle here very shortly. Speaking of a battle, this is a good run from the 13. He's gaining bit by bit. Is he brave enough for a move coming up into the final turn? The answer is a big no this time, as he can't get the overlap.
No, he cannot, as our leaders are working their way through some lap traffic. But how about this run around the outside? He tried to show the nose around your GT4 leader of Wyatt Smith, but could not make it work here. So he will stay tucked up behind for the moment and just continue to just be a little bit of a tow, just follow around and stay right tucked up behind his Mercedes.
Oh, he's less than a car length back into the braking zone, but still can't make anything stick right now. All he needs is a mistake out of that number 9. He is surely going to be pouncing on it as they head through Big Bend and up towards the safety pen. I don't think he got the exit that he needed that time. Smith trying desperately to keep him at arm's length. It cuts down to a quarter of a second between them by the time they break for turn 7, but still no dice for Savio.
Yeah, no dice indeed for Savio, as he will stay your race leader here. Our race leader overall is Simon Demore. He is already lapped up to your top 3 in the GT4 category, so he should be closing in on these leaders here in a few laps' time. He's closing in on Leo Oktarov just by a couple of seconds.
Oh, worth noting that Gundler has decided to pit in. Pretty sure this should be within the pit window because I believe we said it was about 45 minutes they should be able to make on their tanks of fuel.
Yeah, that is the case. 45 minutes is the guess. So as we can see a couple more of the GT3 cars coming down pit road. I believe that's Mason Walters, who will also join him down on the pit stop.
So not typical in this style of racing on iRacing. You usually see drivers try to run the tanks dry and pit as late as possible just so that the cars are lighter for longer out on the track. But if you find yourself kind of caught up in traffic, this can sometimes be the right call, but it is risky without a doubt. Gundler is back out on the track, and I think Walter's just now finishing his pit stop. Yep, he is now returning himself. Meanwhile, Demore up at the front. It is back to about 2 seconds between them. So the 24 picking up the pace to try and keep Burkhardt from becoming a more serious threat.
Now the question is going to be, when will we see your top drivers here in the top 5 join the drivers who have already pitted? And we could see maybe, I mean, this is a 30-lap race or an hour-long event. Could we see possibly, Joe, then split the difference in a sense, make it to about lap 15 or about 30 minutes left to go in the race, and then service their car?
Could be. I mean, we have to wait and see what's the best strategy out there. We might want to go back to the GT4s once again because the leader's coming to within passing distance. And in fact, he's going to make the attempt right away. Savio slices up the inside, much like last time. No defense from Wyatt Smith. He just kind of lets it happen.
I think it's safe to say that these two are very respectful race. He does give a little bit of a flash of the headlights there to your driver of Savio, but will stay behind, and now he will send it into the inside. I think it's safe to say that they're just playing with each other a little bit right here, because it's really fun, aggressive racing, but it's also respectable racing to where they give each other plenty of room, and I think also it's still early on. No need to really push the envelope to cause chaos this early in the race.
Ooh, that was a little push of the envelope through the tower turn, though, because Smith just about went off course, and that meant Savio started to rock up to that rear bumper. He had better speed, but no place to take it, and he's going to have to sit patiently. So Savio was our leader for about 3 corners there, and suddenly it's back into the hands of Wyatt.
Now we'll see what he can do here as they head down the Ullman Straight heading to Sunset Bend. Savio is going to stay tucked up behind, give a little bit of a push as they head towards Sunset Bend. Just right on that back bumper. Gives a little bit of a tap of the brakes, that way they can set up for the corner into Sunset. But still really good racing between these two competitors as they come out of Sunset.
So clearly there is going to be a battle that just keeps going here between these two. Very close on pace and willing to give one another the space to race cleanly out there. I think we're in for a good show for the latter half of this event. First, though, they're going to have to get lapped by DeMori, who is going to go by our GT4 leaders for the first time this race.
Yep, right there behind there you see that white and blue Lamborghini barreling down on the 2 Mercedes as they head their way over towards the Gurney Bend, over to Hairpin. Give a little bit away to your leaders as we see as DeMori has to give a little flash of the headlights to let the drivers out. Oh, that's too close for comfort, I have to say right there, Joe.
Yeah, I think Wyatt was trying to give him the inside, and DeMori wasn't interested in it. He wanted to stay around the outside there, and that got a little tight between them. No harm, no foul, though. Things stay as they are. I'm not sure if this has helped Burkhardt. Yes, it did. Looks like it's about 3/10 closer for the number 2 machine as he continues to chase his fellow Lamborghini.
Yeah, Burkhardt was a little bit less struggling having to negotiate through the lap traffic. Vaughn Beasley will be closing in on these two momentarily as he has caught up to the driver of Leo Oktarov as well. So give it a matter of time. And how about Forrest Adams? He fell back quite a ways. He's now back in the 4th spot after his spin. I guess he has finally found his way up through the field once again.
We've only lost 3 cars so far in this race. Fairfield is out. Janowski has not returned to the track. Not sure if he intends to. And the Zainaldine, unfortunately, was DQ'd. Not sure what the reasoning was. Another good run from Savio. And he's just kind of sticking in behind him, riding in the tire tracks down the Ullman Straight. As Smith again doesn't fully defend, just kind of a lane off of the side of the track, and that is enough to dissuade Panicia, at least this time, by 35 minutes left to go. Neither interested in trying to pit this lap.
Absolutely here, as we're going to keep an eye and see who will be the next drivers in the field to come down pit road as they make the run over to turn 1. Here comes Vaughn Beasley around the inside of Savio as he tries to set it up, and now we'll finally get around Wyatt Smith for position as they head off into turn 2.
And that's the second time we've seen Smith kind of pull offline to try to help out the lapping traffic, or at least that's what it appeared to be. There was a big wiggle coming off of turn 5, and this time Panicia is going to have to do it the long way around to the braking of turn 7. They're neck and neck as they pick up speed 135 miles an hour before finally braking. Savio has to slot back into line. That's not going to work. But I was going to say, Taylor, I'm getting the sense, I don't know how much multi-class practice or experience that Wyatt has, but they always tell you, just hold your line in multi-class racing.
It really is. It is a whole lot of just holding your line. Let the faster cars find their way around you. Don't try to get out of their way because that just causes more problems here. We do have a couple of drivers who have competed in the IMSA series, in the Stars Championship series. We had, of course, Morgan Lebert, who also made his debut in the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the TCR category, along with Chase Jones, co-owner and founder of the MPG Group, which is one of the biggest karting groups in the business when it comes to racing. They're located up in Indiana. over at the Whitefield karting circuit. So going to be a fun season for them as well, as they made a pretty good run, making a top 5 finish for the TCR category at Sebring back a couple of weeks ago.
Ooh, Damori Pitts. That's our leader in the GT3. He's going to give that one up with about 33 minutes left. So, yeah, there's, I guess, our answer on who is going to try and cut it in half. And the 24 seems to think that is a good way to go about it. Vaughn Beasley also is going to do likewise. Not seeing Warren pitting in this time. Watching to see if Carter McMurray will also choose to pit. And indeed, the 37 heads down to the lane.
Yeah, a lot of people are working their way through, as I believe we are joined by one of the drivers and one of the owners of the Stars Championship Series, Mr. Joe Janowski. Joe, I mean, first and foremost, not looking too good for you out there as you're still sitting on pit road.
Not sure if we got Joe with us. Joe, do you have a copy? Might still be out dealing with other things on getting that car repaired, so maybe we'll check in with him a little bit later. This means, because our leaders in the GT3 pitted, that Morgan Burkhart is now your de facto leader. He still owes us a pit stop, though. Eli Warren way behind, since many of the other drivers did pit in before. In fact, Damori Beasley, Antonino, McMurray, and Gundler. And then we also saw Mason Walters pit in many laps ago. Well, many laps, I should say about 3 laps ago, so not too long ago.
Yeah, now we're seeing the driver of Morgan Burkhart looking to go back through the GT4 traffic, catching up to the 64 machine. That's one of the McLarens, or 54 machine, actually, I should say, of Benjamin Fuller. The Expel McLaren, one of the other few McLarens that we see in the field. I think we only see a select amount of others. I think it's safe to say we see our favorites, as now our race leader Burkhart will come down picking the road.
Okay, so where is this going to wind up between himself and Damori? Since the 24 has already taken their stop, is about 26 seconds for Simon, which is pretty good, honestly. The only other driver that came close in the pit stops with John Antonino at 27.4 seconds. Eli Warren also pitting in. Burkhart hit his stall. There is your driver we expect to re-inherit the lead, Damori. But will that be the case once the pit stop of Morgan Burkhart finishes out? There's Morgan now, just finishing up, taking his fuel. And don't see the car up on the jack, so I'm guessing there's going to be no tires taken by him. And he's taking off now. This is going to be very close. Damori is charging up towards him. It was very close on pit stop times between them, less than a second apart as they exit out of the lane. Morgan is right there.
Great battle for the race lead as they head off into turn number 2. It's now going to be a matter of who is able to get themselves going and keep that momentum up. For Simon Damori, though, he is going to continue to do so as they head out of the Gurney Bend, making their way over towards the hairpin here. A really spirited battle between the two Italian makes as they head down.
Wow, strategy has worked out beautifully for Morgan. And that's also considering that Morgan was about a second slower in pit lane. So that must have been a much better in-lap for Morgan Burkhart compared to Damori's out-lap. In fact, he's going to threaten coming up into the braking of Cunningham, but he's going to do it the long way around, nearly making contact. In fact, they will make contact. Off the track goes Morgan. Damori has to correct a slide. The return as they started side by side, but the speed goes to Damori, who retakes the lead.
Burkhart gave way to let the leader by of Damori to once again reclaim the position, so that way he hopefully doesn't get a penalty for that. Smart move right there by Burkhart, as now he will go back onto the attack. He'll look to the inside, which will now be the outside lane as they head to Jean Tibien, right on the door of that number 24 Lamborghini.
Probably left a little bit of a donut on him, honestly, as they switch back through Le Mans. That looks like a pretty good run by Morgan. What's it going to look like coming into Sunset Bend? He's got the toe. He pops his nose out, and he's inching forward up alongside him. Does he dare do it once again? Wheel to wheel. He's going to take a much shallower line into the right-hander, and he is much farther ahead. He's fully ahead of Demori through the corner and off the corner. Your new leader is the number 2 of Burkhardt.
What a pass right there by the driver of Morgan Burkhardt, and now he's got to see if he can hold them off as they head off into turn number 1, and now they got a little bit of breathing room. Well, now let's try again with our special guest, Mr. Joe Janowski. Joe, first and foremost, I hope you were able to see that very spirited battle between your race leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine, Joe.
Awesome. Yeah, that was good stuff. I'm actually was riding around in Morgan's in-car there, and that was spirited, as they say. It's a good word for it.
Absolutely. As we keep an eye on this battle, I mean, we're only just a few weeks away, Joe, for the season opener of the Queen City Gambit at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Stars Championship Series. What's been the talk of the town, in a sense, or the excitement levels for your team over there with Stars, with the drivers who are registering for this event?
It's palpable. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of, every year you kind of have some expectations of kind of, what do we think the year ahead's going to look like? And honestly, you kind of have that little trepidation of, do we surge ahead, from where we were last year? Do we kind of stay the same? Like, what's going on out there? And, in a week, we surged past 200 entries, and we've got weeks to go yet. And entries just keep coming in every day. And so, obviously that's going to naturally build excitement, right? There's big names in a lot of the classes, big names still coming in, lots of people. I see lots of new names that are coming in. So, everything is looking pretty good. It's shaping up to be a great event. Charlotte Motor Speedway's super excited to have it. It's been a long time since they've had an event like this. Obviously every spring they do the CKNA Nationals, which is a fantastic race. The Stars race is just going to be a little bit different, kind of how it works and how it runs. And so they're excited down there for it. And we're excited to get our team back together again and see people at the racetrack and put on a really, killer show.
Absolutely. And of course, the season opener will once again be on Kart Chaser, April 26th through the 28th. And we look forward to bringing all that coverage later on at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But before we let you go, Joe, where can people go to learn more about the Stars Championship Series, both the real-life karting championship as well as also the virtual, because I know we are in talks that there might be a couple of other special events in between the real-life karting series?
Well, yeah. Esports, I think when you talk to Christian a couple of times, this is kind of an unofficial way that we sort of started Stars to begin with during the pandemic. And I've been a sim racer for a long time. I haven't really done it a lot in the last few years, and unfortunately tonight kind of showed that. But had a lot of fun out there. But at any rate, esports is just something that we're interested in, and so we're still working to kind of slowly build that program and get to where we've got some cool stuff going on. But yeah, we're talking about doing some specials over the summertime. It's harder in the summertime, right? Because we tend to attract real racers or real world racers, right? That do sim a lot in the wintertime. But I'd like to see this keep going. I'd like to see it keep building in power and prestige. And we give away $250 to win pro, right? Which isn't too shabby. Plus a whole slew of other prizes, and obviously great coverage like you guys provide. So, definitely going to keep that going for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you for your time, and we will see you in a few weeks at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
That is Joseph Janowski, the founder and co-owner of course, the Stars Championship Series. But Joe Peak, I have to say, I think there was a problem with Wyatt Smith.
Not a problem, but a pit stop. I was keeping an eye on that while you guys were chatting, and Savio stayed out while Wyatt pitted in, which means Savio's going to try and go long. I suspect this might be an overcut strategy by the 13 to, like I said, try and run the car dry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good strategy, but the thing is, he's got to make sure he hits his mark when he makes that pit stop and make sure he has a good in lap. and make sure he doesn't have no mistakes whatsoever on that pit stop.
Agreed. He needs to execute now because he no longer has Wyatt Smith with him, so he doesn't know what his performance is like right now. He's got to just try and run as good a laps as he can, and I'd say Savio's doing that. His last lap was his personal best this race, a 2:10.7, and that actually is the fastest lap of any of the GT4s all race.
Absolutely. He is setting the pace here so far throughout the entire field. And I got to say, Savio is definitely going to be one to watch both in this event as well as when we kick off the Stars Championship Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway here in a few weeks. So keep an eye on this young driver. He's got a lot of great talent. And he also knows a thing or two about doing it in the virtual world.
Yeah, obviously an excellent sim racer from what we've been seeing here today. About 4.5K I rating, which is definitely, once you reach that level, you're getting a little bit serious there. And you're one to try and maybe see if you can make that next step up, get to 5,000, get to 6,000, where you get the admiration of quite a few people in this sim. And that was Beasley just putting another lap on him since he's running in another class here, so not racing with him right now. Let's see if this will be the last one. Yes, indeed. Savio pits in this time.
Absolutely. He will come down and make his pit stop. Wyatt Smith, he just is coming over towards Jean Debien to make his run, so he's got a little bit of work to do. So we'll see if he can just try to get a good run and try to see if he can just close the gap back up to Savio before this is all said and done. So we'll keep an eye on this right here. Savio's still in his pit box, and he is starting to close as he heads down the Ullman Straight.
28.3. That's your time stationary for Wyatt Smith. I'm watching the clock tick upwards for Panicia. It's up to 18, 19, 20 seconds now. And Smith is just coming into Sunset Bend. This is another one that's looking like it's going to be close. Oh, no, it's not. 24 seconds, and Savio is already heading out. This is going to be a pretty big jump between the two of them, and he is going to pull a massive gap over his rival.
There you see the gap right there as he has got 4 seconds now to try to make up. Compared to what we saw for our GT3 field, it is now a whole new ball game, and now your top three is still Savio, Wyatt Smith, and Leo Akhtarov, your top three in the GT4 category still.
Yeah, poor Akhtarov is kind of probably wondering what could have been. He's gained a bit of time on Wyatt. I think he's a little closer than he was before. But, yeah, let's see. Last lap for Wyatt, a 2:11.3 with Akhtarov, a 2:11 flat. Yeah, he is quicker than him according to that last lap. And should be able to try and see if he can challenge for second, but maybe the lead would be a bridge too far for the 7 car.
Yeah, he's got about 3 seconds to make up on Wyatt Smith here. He could possibly do it with about 10 minutes or 10 laps to go, 20 minutes left to go in the race. A lot of openings still up for grabs here. But one thing, Joe, I do want to talk about is, not just some of the drivers who are in this event, but there's actually at least one driver who you might be familiar with who will be competing in the Stars Championship Series. He'll be running in the OKN division. Josh Conker will be returning once again in 2024 for the Stars Championship Series. Normally runs in the pro or the shifter category, which I have to say, if you ever get the chance to watch shifter kart racing, no matter where you are in the world, go check it out. By far, it's some of the best racing action you will ever see as drivers do battle.
I've really been enjoying seeing the crossover happen more and more between sim racing and real racing. Even this past weekend, I was working an event out in Nevada and met up with 2 drivers in the sim world. That one was competing and another was a crew member on one of the teams out there. So it was really good to meet them face to face, get to chat and hear their thoughts on getting out and racing the real cars. And yeah, it's wild to think. I guess it's now 13 years ago that I joined iRacing and see sim racing really bridge the gap more and more.
Absolutely. I mean, I've joined around the same time as yourself, Joe, and working my way up through this entire rank, whether it be driving or broadcasting, and now working with, both in the karting world and the dirt racing world, and working with so many different people, and then you come across people who you've raced against in the sim world, will be at the racetrack, and they're racing in one of the cars or crewing one of the cars or even commentating the event. It's absolutely amazing of how small of a tight-knit community the iRacing community is, I have to say.
Oh, and how much camaraderie it is definitely built as well. But this is the beauty of technology. It has brought us all together. Meanwhile, Morgan is maybe pushing that technology a little far as he dipped his right wheels into the dirt coming through turn one. He's going to try and lap Gardner, who is within his own class. Gardner dutifully pulls off to the side and lets him through. So thankfully, no dramas between those two. Still about 5 seconds between P1 and P2. There you can see second place in the background. And that is the gap that pit stop has put between those two in GT3s.
Yeah, so it's going to be a matter of, can Burkhardt just keep the pace up to hold off Simon Demori? Last time by, Simon Demori was 2 seconds slower than your race leader. So that is a big issue right there. I'll see if there was something that might have happened to Simon Demori. That was definitely either he got caught up in some major traffic or he had an off somewhere.
Yeah, something seems to have happened pretty dramatically in that despite the faster pit stop, he has lost significant time. Speaking of losing time, Wyatt Smith lost a full second to Ovcharov last time by. Let's see what this lap holds between them as they're getting ready to cross now. And Wyatt sets a 2:11.9. That's still a tenth slower than the last lap. Ovcharov, a 2:10.8. Another second has been knocked off. This is looking a lot more likely now that Leo's looking at a second place finish.
He certainly is, and he is trying to set the pace. 1.3 seconds separates these two competitors here as they will jockey for that second step of the podium.
Last lap for Savio was a 2:11.2, so he's also quite a bit slower than Leo. Not as dramatically, though. Looks like that's about 0.3 difference. Yeah, he's going to need something more akin to what he's got between himself and Wyatt Smith to try and make this happen. As certainly seems like Smith is struggling in the second half of this race after he was fighting for a potential win not moments ago.
Yeah, so now he's just trying to find his way to at least be in that second position and make up at least one of the two spots that he has lost here in this chance for a good finish to wrap up the season as we take off from the virtual world and head into the real world of racing in a few weeks' time. But we're going to watch this battle here. We do have a couple other drivers who have taken it behind the wall besides Fairfield. Carl McMurray also out of the race. A tough break for him. And I believe also Mason Walters is done as
had a
well.
Disconnect, unfortunately.
Yeah, a tough break for Mason Walters.
Yeah, we get the message in iRacing when a driver has lost their internet connection, and it's due to upload packet loss for him. So that's the telltale sign that he is no longer able to connect to the server. And I guess we always call it the sort of virtual version of an electronic failure in your car, some little part that cost you about 5 cents to buy and just unfortunately doesn't hold up. Meanwhile, Ovcharov here. Oh, did he brush the wall? I think he did just brush the wall because he was getting close to Smith, and now he may have thrown away the good opportunity.
Yeah, this is going to be not a good run right here. He's got to find his way to catch back up, but now Ovcharov is losing that time that he had to Wyatt Smith as Smith is starting to pull away. You see a little bit of damage there to Ovcharov as you see right there a little bit of a crinkle to the rear end of that Mercedes.
Yeah, he smacked that wall on the left side. It was pretty significant. He is carrying on, but what was down to just a couple tenths is back up to about 1.8 seconds now. Checking to see what the speed difference is between them. Unfortunately, I didn't quite get to catch it there. So I'll check it again when they get to the backstretch where they have that nice long run to see if Leo is struggling in a straight line, which is going to make life difficult if he's quicker in the corners but can't seem to overtake him on top end.
Yeah, and it's a tough break, and I gotta say, a tough break for Mason Walters. He is your defending KA Junior champion this past year in the Stars Championship Series. Of course, he has moved up to the KA Seniors or KA Stars category here for 2024. So hopefully he'll have a little bit of a better kickoff to his season compared to the finale that he is dealing with here tonight.
Yeah, I'd say he's losing time. It's up to 2.2 seconds now. Leo looks like that damage did a little bit more than he would have liked, unfortunately, and he now is going to have to try and just bring home this third place. Michael Adams is back in fourth place, but very, very far behind. I think he's almost 3/4 of a minute back from third position. So he's looking way better. Max speed of about 144 for Wyatt. And for Leo, it was up to about 142, 143. So he is lacking a little bit in comparison now because of the damage he did. And he's always headed into pit lane. Oh, I didn't notice. Leo got a meatball flag from that contact. He might not actually wind up in second.
No, he will not by the looks of it. That's going to be a long pit stop with the damage that he received when he made that contact. So we'll now have to wait and see how long of a pit stop it will be, as he will go another lap down, and he misses his pit box. So that's he hasn't even made it
a couple times. No. Well, he got it, but they have a free repair. Yeah. So I was going to say, if he can time it right, he can get in and out quickly. And the good news is he had such a big gap on the 56. He is going to get out, but just some unfortunate fumbling there in pit lane for the number 7. And he will return with pretty much his only option, unless there's drama in front of him, being third place today. Again, a big case of what could have been for Leo. Meanwhile, running here in one of the few McLarens that we've got on track, this is Ben Fuller in the 54. Down one from where he started, still doing pretty decently at least, and as he flies into turn 1, needs to make up about 3 seconds to catch up to Brett Stern.
That was one of your closest battles, I have to say, in the GT4 category, and looking to see if there's any other battles in and around the field, but this is the closest one, and he's starting to close the gap now. He picked up a couple of tenths, and it's now 2.8 seconds as he tries to catch up to the number 3 Aston Martin of Brett Stern.
Looks like Jackson Gardner had a bit of an accident. He's fallen down to 8th in the GT3 class because of that. Took his free repair and returns to the circuit himself. There he is now. And excuse me, that was the replay. That was a massive hit.
That was a absolutely massive hit indeed. So we'll try to see if we can get another angle of that one, I have to say, because that was a hard hit.
Not sure if the car snapped on him, or there we see that from the same side again, or if maybe there was a hardware failure as the steering maybe went out or something to that effect, because usually you don't fly in that quickly, especially in the GT3 cars. That looked almost more like a prototype wreck there.
It certainly did, and there you see him right there back behind Brett Stern to try to get his way up further through the field, but he currently sits P8 overall as well as in class. He is 21 seconds behind James Newell in his Ferrari.
So Brett Stern carrying on as James Newell just went by. In fact, that's Brett on screen that we're watching in his Aston Martin, sitting in 5th. About 11 seconds to make up to Michael. In front of him, Ben Fuller in that number 54. About 2.5 seconds back from this bright yellow, hard to miss Aston Martin. But the laps are ticking down. There are less than 10 minutes to go now.
Less than 10 minutes to go as they work their way around the circuit here. Still a lot of different things that could play out for your competitors here, as we keep an eye on some of the other drivers trying to work their way up through the field. Still, of course, Savio has an 11-second lead in the GT4 category, and Morgan Burkhardt has a 6-second lead over Simon Demori as we pick the field.
Yeah, interesting how Wyatt seems to have been dropping, unless he had some drama on this lap himself. I'm checking to see if there was a spin, because remember, he was about 5 seconds behind there. Oh, I think I figured out what happened. He came upon a wrecked car, it looks like, so that slowed him down. That was Krishna in that number 8. But even still, I think it's been consistently dropping lap after lap now to where it is doubled, more than doubled in size between himself and Panicia. As this is Demori also losing touch with Burkhardt, our GT3 leader, and I can confirm this last lap was about 2 seconds slower for Wyatt Smith. So yeah, that was definitely a big chunk of what he had lost to Savio in front of him as he lines it up for the braking down into turn 3 and then back and forth. You can see as well all those color changes that are on the track, having now actually gotten to go down to this circuit in person and see it. These are all surface changes that this car is experiencing. At the same time, it's dealing with bumps and changing direction back and forth constantly.
Absolutely, and I've been here to this circuit as well, and it's just so amazing to just get a head-on look at these cars and see how much the car undulates through the bumps. I mean, the suspension really going into overdrive in order to just try to make it a lap around this circuit, let alone an hour long around this circuit.
Indeed, and I imagine 12 hours of that too.
Exactly.
So it is a rough place to try and race a car. But both our second place driver here on screen in the GT4s and our leader in the GT3s just plugging away. That's not our leader in the GT3s. That is Beasley, who's still on the podium, actually. He's sitting in third, but just has not had the pace that those ahead of him has had. It's about 16 seconds up to the next machine for this number 18 car, with a healthy gap of about 8 seconds back to Eli Warren. So hopefully we'll see him be able to just kind of put the last few laps in and get to spray the champagne after this one, especially as you can see up in the upper left. 4 laps to go.
4 laps to go for your race leader as we're look through a couple of other drivers. There you see Wesley Gundler. He is the last car on the lead lap. Looking to try to at least see if he can get a top 5 finish, but he's got about 8 seconds before he catches up to John Antonino as he works around his Delta Sport teammate in the GT4 category of Akhtarov as they head off into the sunset.
Yeah, Delta Force, I think, would be a very different show, right?
It would be. It certainly would be, I have to say.
I'm still amused at Gundler's paint scheme that he's got what looks like the Italian flag on a very German car. But it's sim racing. You can do whatever you want with that one. And Tag Heuer on the side of it is he'll tick off lap number 27 now as he comes down into turn 1. Like you said, last driver on the lead lap. But the good news for him is I think he should be able to complete all the laps at this rate, because he's only a minute behind the leader. That's still half a lap ahead of Burkhardt.
Well, Benjamin Fuller has closed the gap on Brett Stern for the 5th position. This is for the final spot in the top 5 in the GT4 category. And we're going to keep an eye on this battle here. It's 0.7 of a second here, coming to 4 laps to go, soon to be 3 laps to go next time by for these GT4s. It's going to be one that's going to be exciting to watch here for the closing stage.
Last lap at 2:12.8 for Ben. Brett, a 2:13.2, half a second quicker, and he's about 0.7 behind. You do the math right there. He's going to be just right on his rear bumper by the end of this circulation.
He's going to have to try to find as he clips over the curbing. Of course, if I remember correctly, Joe, did Sebring get the new 3D curbings this most recent build?
I believe they did, yes. Although those curbs were already very 3D. It's the sawtooth curbs that have had that added, such as what you see here just to the outside. And, of course, down to the inside of turn 7. That's what they really needed in this one, to be a little bit more accurate. They're going to get interrupted by Jackson Gardner. Oh, and he's making life a little bit irksome for Fuller. He has to back out of it.
Yeah, that's going to cost him a little bit of time, but Fuller now trying to see if he can follow Gardner around Brett Stern. Couldn't quite get to the opening just yet, has to back it down in order to try to just make sure he makes it through the corner, not make contact with Brett Stern at the moment. But he is applying the pressure, has a big up on 2 wheels as they climb over the curving for Brett Stern in that Aston.
Absolutely, and as they switch back once again, Brett has to try and hold on for 3 more minutes here. Remember, they're at the mercy of where Burkhardt crosses the line, and he's behind them by what looks like maybe about 20 to 30 seconds. So I think these two are going to get a full extra lap to try and fight this out.
Oh, this is going to be exciting here for them as you see the flash of the headlights on that McLaren as they rocket down the Ullman Straight heading over into Sunset's Bend. There you see Burkhardt right there in the background.
Indeed. So yeah, I don't think there's enough time for him to catch and lap them here, because they get ready to cross the line. There's less than 3 minutes to go. So there should be 2 laps left now once Burkhardt hits the timing line himself, as we keep our eyes on this fight coming into turn 1. Not as close as I think maybe he thought he was going to be at the end of this lap. The lap traffic certainly made life a bit more difficult for that McLaren. He's going to have to try and get much tighter to that rear bumper.
He's going to have a lot of work to do as they work their way climbing over the curbs through the S's as they head over to the Gurney Bend. So far, he gets a little breathing room, about a car length to 2 car lengths. So that might give him a chance to set himself up to where he can be comfortable heading into the hairpin.
Credit to Brett. He's responding here. He doesn't want to give him the opportunity, although deep under braking. Here comes Ben Fuller. Almost makes contact into the side of the number 3, but he'll deny him with a better exit off the turn. Ben knows that it's coming down to it. He has got to try and make some passes.
How about that? That was a send and a half right there for Benjamin Fuller as he is just trying to find every which way to get around him. He gets a good run off corner exit as they almost bang doors coming out of the corner.
Oh, they got to make sure that they at least finish this race. They could still lose positions to Adams and Garcia behind them, giving chase. And I think my estimations were wrong. That is Burkhardt. He has, in fact, caught them. They will not get the extra lap to battle.
No, they will not. So this is going to be tight for them as they will come around and possibly get the white flag here pretty soon, as Burkhardt has got to be careful because he's in the middle of this battle, but also he doesn't want to lose too much time and allow Simon DeMori to close the gap on him. He has a good opening here down the Ullman Straight to set up for a run as he lets by and gets by these lap cars.
Yeah, he had about 8 seconds of buffer, so he knew he just had to wait for the right time. Stern goes defensive down into Sunset Bend. He had already slid wide into Jean Debienne. He's feeling the pressure. Ben Fuller, can he rattle him enough to get a mistake and sneak on by? He's going to cut back underneath, get the better run, but he's going to be on the outside as the white flag waves for these two. Last lap to try and decide P5. He's fully ahead, but he's not deep enough on the brakes into this one. This time, Brett Stern takes it right back.
Great side-by-side racing as you see crossover. He goes defensive, Brett Stern. That's going to allow Ben to go around the long way. Slight contact almost between the two of them. That gives Brett Stern enough of a gap to now start to pull away as they head over to the Gurney Bend.
Ben's got to recover quickly here. He's not going to have a lot of time to try and make the pass, and the opportunities will go away fast here. First one up, going to be into the hairpin. I don't think he's near enough. All the way down to the inside, covering off Brett, trying to dissuade him. Maybe too shallow into the corner, though.
He might be able to save it. Fuller, though, is going to make a run and try to get the outside momentum as Simon DeMori's closing in, seeing if what he can do. But here he goes. That's going to break it up just a moment. And now Fuller gets back onto the attack to see if he can follow DeMori. Not able to as they head into the corner.
still defending pretty much every turn in there. Brett is not going to try and give him a whiff of the inside apex. Meanwhile, I can report that Burkhardt has just about 3 or 4 turns to go, and he is finished with this race. That is a much better gap between the pair of them. So let's switch our focus over to the number 2. He was not the leader earlier on, but Morgan took his pit stop and basically jumped Demori in a huge way. Did not look back from then. It was up to almost 11 seconds at one stage between he and his rival. That has come down a bit, but I imagine Morgan has been managing things as he is going to wrap this one up with a victory here at Sebring in the finale.
Stellar run right here for Morgan Burkhardt. Let's go back and see about this battle here, because Brett Stern and Benjamin Fuller will not be able to catch up, and that will be a top 5 finish for Brett Stern as he will get that run. But let's go check in on our GT4 race leader, Savio Panzania, who will now work his way around Jean Dibien and over toward the Ullman Straight for the final time.
Yep, he's clear by almost 13 seconds over Wyatt Smith. He is really sitting pretty on this one. Smith probably not got a chance here at the end to challenge for the win. Savio started this one on the pole. Panicia had a little bit of a threat, I must say, from Wyatt earlier on. They swapped positions here and there, but once Savio got to the front in the latter half of the race, it did not change again. He is going to take the win in the GT4 class for the last round.
Absolutely a stellar drive for Panicia to take home the checkered flag here, Joe. And I got to say, it's time to hopefully see some celebration. Will we see Savio burn it down here on the front straightaway?
He's going to try to. There he goes.
There we go. A little burnout.
He's got to turn off that traction control.
Nice.
He's trying to find the button for it, probably.
He is trying to do that here, and there's... Whoa! Well, there goes Jackson Gardner, who decided to just end it right there with his Porsche.
Just sent it a little bit. Yeah, that was fantastic stuff between these two. They're gonna to maybe you do some fun drifts here at the end of the race to celebrate the end of a wonderful season here for this series, and also a big credit to Morgan and Simon with a nice clean race over there for the GT3s as well to get themselves onto the podium.
Well, with that, Joe, let's take ourselves a quick little commercial break, but when we come back, we'll give the full field rundown and hopefully talk to some of our winners here for tonight at the Stars Championship Series.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, the GT4 finishers, where of course goes to Savio Panacea, who will come home as your race winner, and then Wyatt Smith will come home in second place in class, with Leo Oktarov coming home in P3. Force Adams was able to recover to get a fourth place finish, while Brett Stern hold off a hard-charging Benjamin Fuller, and then Michael Adams right there in seventh position, followed by Kevin Garcia and Waleed Zaladin will round out your 9-car drivers here, as that was a tough break for him as he was disqualified due to some racing infractions here tonight. But we will have a chance to talk to at least two of your race winners and maybe a couple of more drivers, so we'll give it a chance here and hope for the best, as we'll hopefully see if we can get our race winner, Morgan Burkhardt, to join us down here in the booth along with Savio. So we'll start with Morgan Burkhardt, who joins us.
Indeed, our winner in the GT3 class. Morgan, congratulations. Now, we were a bit surprised after the pit stops because you had a second slower pit stop than Simon, and yet you wound up massively ahead. Were you just as shocked?
Yeah, no, I think I believe he didn't take tires and I did, and I figured that we're pitting pretty early, so I should probably take the tires and make it last to the end so that I could push pretty hard. And I knew that I really had to push hard on my final lap to make the overcut work, and it ended up working. I think he didn't get up to speed on the old tires on his outlap, and I was able to just kind of chew through the gap a ton, and yeah, it ended up working out. But I was fairly surprised to come out side by side with him into turn one.
Absolutely, and wound up a full 10 seconds ahead in the end of the race. Now, you also had to deal with some of the traffic here today, which was one of our keys to the race, including at the very end. You came upon that battle for fifth. That looked a little hot. Did that make you nervous?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't want to get in the way of the battle, especially for, I think it was for fourth or fifth place or something like that. So definitely didn't want to stick my feet in where they didn't really belong, and just tried to, take my time through it, doing on a straightaway, and I didn't really have much pressure from behind so that I could kind of afford to do that. But if Simon was a lot closer, I think it would have been a very different story, and it would have been exceedingly awkward.
That's for sure. This wraps up the season. Are you looking forward to getting back to karting out there?
Well, not so much karting, but the car racing definitely. Our season's already started a little bit with IMSA and the SCCA as well. So just kind of keep plugging away, and this is really good to keep skills sharp. It's a lot of really quick guys in this field.
Great stuff. Well, again, congratulations, Morgan, and savor the victory, sir.
Thank you.
That was our victor in the GT3s. And Taylor looks like he has caught up with our winner down in the GT4, Savio.
I have caught up with Savio, and Savio, I gotta say, you put on a stellar drive from start to finish. Amazing strategy call. I mean, walk us through about a little bit of how this race worked out for you tonight.
Off the start, Wyatt really, it just seemed like he wanted to battle the whole time. So after, couple position swaps, I just decided to let him go and work on fuel saving myself and saving extra laps of fuel. And it definitely ended up working out. Strategy definitely worked, and very happy about it.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we are getting ready to kick off the 2024 Stars Championship Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway in a few weeks' time. How excited are you? Talk to us a little bit about who you're going to be driving for and what classes you'll be racing in this year.
Well, for Stars, sadly I won't be able to do it just because budget, right? So it's kind of a shame. I'd really like to do it. It seems like a great series, but yeah, it's just budget's a little tight.
Understood. Well, where can people go to learn more about your racing career and maybe hopefully give you a chance to help out with funding and maybe give you a chance to return to karting here in the Stars Championship Series?
Definitely they could check out my Instagram. It's just my name, Savio Panicha, and thank you for the amazing series. I had a lot of fun.
Well, that is Savio Panicha coming home as your GT4 race winner. Got a couple of other drivers from the GT4 category ready to go. We have Leo Abdurov joining us here in the booth. Leo, you got a copy?
I do.
Well, Leo, first and foremost, a great drive for you here tonight in your Delta Sport machine. Talk to us a little bit about how the race went for you and, of course, what happened on that opening lap that caused you to lose so much time to the leaders.
I think overall it went pretty well. I'm not very familiar with these cars, so I kind of use this as practice for myself. But at the start, I was under the impression if I crossed the start-finish line in front of the pole sitter that I would be penalized, so that's kind of why I backed out. So I don't know if that was correct or not. I'm going to have to look at that, but that's pretty much why I lifted.
All right. Well, of course, your season is getting ready to kick off for the Stars Championship Series. Any plans for you for this year in the karting world?
No. If I'm able to do some stuff, that would be great. I work full time, so my schedule's usually kind of limited. But if I can get out there and do something, that'd be great.
All right. Well, Leo, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to seeing you in future Stars Championship events.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Of course, and finally joining us in the booth, he's going to be with Joe Peak, is Wyatt Smith, coming home with a podium finish here tonight.
Indeed. Wyatt certainly had an exciting first half of the race. You were battling with Savio for much of that way. In fact, your start just about gave you the lead from him.
Oh, yeah. Interesting start. They started going slow, and I was wondering what was happening, so I just went. I tried taking turn 1, but that didn't work, so then I tried taking away. But it was interesting off the bat, though, definitely.
Once the pit stops happened, it looked like the 13 was able to kind of short stop you a little bit and ran away. Did you have any thoughts that maybe you could catch back up to him after that, or was it let's just settle for second and bring it home?
I wanted to catch him. I thought I was going to start catching him, but I knew he was fast. I know he's been fast this entire series. So I was like, all right, we're going to settle in. We're going to try and take second. But then Leo started catching me, so then I got worried about that. It was a whole thing. I wanted to keep my second place. It was a whole thing. I wanted to just keep it.
Yeah, it's understandable, and he made that mistake, so thankfully dropped off of you once he had kind of smacked into the wall. Did that relieve the pressure? Was it just smooth sailing from there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Last 10 minutes, I was sweating so much because I was like, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake. But then I started like almost making mistakes, so the pressure started getting back up. But then I was like, I realized I had like 26 seconds, so like then I like backed off and I was like just like chilling, kind of cruising.
Well, you did a great job there to collect yourself a podium in the last race of the season. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to you more next season out.
Oh yeah, for sure. This was amazing. Like it was like really fun.
It looked like a lot of fun. That was Wyatt Smith, who finished P2 here today, Taylor. I'd say this was a great way to wrap it up, as hot as it was out on the track surface.
Absolutely, Joe, and I gotta say, it's been a great season. Of course, we can't thank enough the Stars Championship Series for coming on board with us here at Grid Vision, and of course, we can't thank some of the commentators that have helped us out this year. Of course, Alexander Searle and Emery Lida, who were the main voices of the Stars Championship Series. Alex, of course, is actually down at Sebring. He was doing a little driver coaching down there this weekend. And Emery Lida, well, he's heading over to Houston to kick off his karting debut season once again with the United States Pro Kart Series in Houston in a couple of days' time. So, Joe, I can't thank you enough for coming on as we have a little fun with some sports car racing action here at Sebring.
Absolutely. And of course, we have to thank the sponsors that help put this series on: Track Systems, Northern Karting Alliance, MG Tires Racing, Lucas Oil School of Racing, VRS, Perfect Printing, Overwatch Virtual Oversight Solutions, Kart Class, and Rude Image. Be sure to tune in more here on Grid Vision. We'll bring you all the action later on, but for the Stars Championship Series, this will wrap things up, at least for this season. Thank you so much for watching from myself and Taylor Burris. Race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.